Welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Horror Friendly Podcast, part of the You Run Podcast Network, and we are live.
Hey. Only for this bit.
Only for this bit. This is just for a recording. It might make sense to everyone later down the line.
This is why you have to follow us on socials, so that you know what the fuck we're on about half the time.
Exactly. And if you don't, that's your problem.
Yeah, that's not an us issue. We've got enough to deal with our own lives. So
exactly.
How are you?
Tal?
I was going to say, how are you? I haven't seen you in so long.
It's been so long. It's been like 24 hours.
I know.
You know.
Actually knackered.
I know. Well, me and Tel and our partners and some other friends spent the weekend together. We went to Rye and it was a great old time.
Yeah, I went for the bonfire night and had a lot to drink. I think what's so funny is every picture we're holding like a different drink. And I was like, I didn't think we drank that much, but the evidence would suggest otherwise.
Well, it's difficult because I feel like you and your partner like do drink. But like I felt like I don't know. Me and my partner were the pissheads this weekend.
I don't think anyone was a pisshead. I think that's what's funny is we were drinking so much, but nobody seemed drunk.
No, actually, that's true. I was never hungover or anything.
No, but I said, but we have not stopped drinking since we arrived. But it's because when you travel and you park your car and then you don't have to drive for 3 days, like no one's got to drive, so everyone's drinking. But
absolutely, why not?
Yeah, the funny thing is actually we didn't actually take as many photos as I thought. So where I'm like, oh, but the ones we did, it's a different pic. It was only when we were drinking, so I was like, it looks like all we did was go for a piss up. We also took in the culture. We took in the graveyard.
We did, yeah. We did other things. Yeah, we took some spooky photos. I think Tel has got some really cool content. I mean, when this comes up, I'm sure it would already have been out, so you probably would have seen it already. But anyway.
But yes, HFP on tour.
Whoop, whoop.
But we are back, and we are back with a brand new episode. So this week we are covering the 2012 horror drama American Mary. Medical student Mary Mason is lured into a world of performing freakish surgeries to earn money for school. That's a really quick little intro, that one.
It is nice and easy.
Nice and easy, nice and simple. So I know neither of us was this our first time watching. That was English. So what were your first thoughts, if you remember them?
Yeah, I only watched this film a couple of years ago. I just remember it like being on my list of ones to watch for so long. But I didn't really know that much about it at the time. I just kind of I think I'd seen certain things like through the horror community, and like what she wears is quite an iconic outfit. It's kind of similar to Audition sort of vibe. So I always kind of thought like, oh, that looks quite interesting. But yeah, so when I watched it, I wasn't really sure what to expect. And to be fair, when I rewatched it for the pod, like I hadn't seen it in a while. So some new bits and some bits that I didn't remember cropped up a little bit for me. I mean, I like this film for the most part. I think it's good. Like, I think it's like an hour 20. You can't go wrong. Yeah. I think it's a solid film. I think Katharine Isabelle is really good in it. I like the idea of sort of bringing body modification into a horror film. I think that's a really cool idea. But yeah, what about you?
I know what you mean. I like it for the most part. I think I do really like this film. I like that it's short. It's no, but it's like it's short, it's straight to the point. So much happens in it.
Yeah.
Like it really knows how to tell the story. My only thing is kind of, and obviously we'll get there, but my only thing is kind of the ending. Like, I don't know how else they could have wrapped it up, but I didn't see that coming. And it's not that I'm against it, but I think I was really surprised by it. But I think similar to you, like this was not my first time watching it. I think it was one of those that kind of kept floating around. The look was really cool. Stupid. I think when I first heard of it, I thought it was like an American Psycho. And then I read a bit more about it, and I was like, it's not. But I also found it interesting that because they were talking about like the body modification community and how a lot of it's like illegal in different countries. So even when they're online, they're very like private about who their doctors and surgeons are. And they called the film American Mary, but not once was she referred to that way. She was always referred to as Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary?
So I was like, did you not want to call it Bloody Mary? Like, I don't know. I actually don't know why the choice was not to call it Bloody Mary or call her American Mary.
Yeah, they thought about calling it Bloody Mary apparently,
Okay.
but they didn't want it to be confused with kind of several other films that could have been called it at that time.
Which I
There was
think
probably
absolutely could have happened.
yeah, so they didn't call her American Mary in the film, to your point, but yeah, that was the reason why they didn't call the film Bloody Mary, which I think they just didn't want it to be too predictable and too same as everything else.
Yeah, and to be fair, because I was thinking that, I was like, obviously, we see some of the characters, they travel all over to get these body mods done because doctors won't take. So I do wonder if she was kind of like, oh, it was because she was the American doctor that would do it. But yeah, so I don't know. It was just kind of like you say, it was one of those things. I was like, no one called her that the whole film. Maybe there was a deleted scene where she was called that, and then they just forgot to leave it in.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know what the reason was for that title, but maybe it was a play on American Psycho. You never know.
Maybe I would just like Dr. Mary would have been an interesting one because it just tells you nothing, but neither does American Mary. Like that tells you nothing about the film. So actually, Dr. Mary would have been like, I don't know. It's like this has nothing to do with the actual film. I'm just being very pedantic about the title. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just curious. Like, what would I have called it? What did you think of, like, yeah, we'll start, like, obviously we don't really go through in order, but like, what did you make of the like opening where it kind of like the setup where it kind of like brings her, you know, she's a student, she's poor, naturally she ends up looking at sort of stripping work and sex work. I don't think she was looking at the sex work actually. I just think that was in the environment.
Yeah, no, I think it was an interesting start to a film, because doesn't it start with her like dissecting a chicken breast or something, or like
sewing a turkey back together, but she didn't eat it because it wasn't an eating turkey.
No, definitely not. Apparently Catherine Isabel actually learned to do it, which is
so I
kind of
did
cool.
see that. Yeah, she went to medical school to research the role, which is really, really badass. But also, I couldn't help it wasn't an eating turkey. It's like, you're a poor, starving student, and you've just had to fork out a shit ton of money for a turkey you can't even eat. Like,
and then she was, I think at one point she was drinking red wine. It's like,
I mean,
you got to get your priorities in order.
True, but red wine isn't always expensive.
Yeah, true. It depends. Yeah, actually, yeah, we know that all too well. So
yeah, we know the hangovers from that one. So I did think that was quite typical though of like, you know, student life. Like, again, I never actually did it, but you always hear the stories of that, and like students having to take jobs to get through. Jobs typically waitressing and that, but some do go for sex work because it's easy money. I think it's probably hard as well because it's like, you know, you need something for like late hours or like
yeah, definitely. It's definitely an easy it's a difficult world, but yeah, an easy option, not an easy job by any stretch of imagination, but like, yeah, an easy option for a student, I think, which, you know, no, and like obviously when that's on your terms, that's great, but when it's not so much, that, you know, that's when it's difficult. But yeah, it kind of brings her, I don't know, just kind of introduces her to this whole world, doesn't it? This whole life.
But so quick. And again, that's why I loved it. It was so quick. Like, she was literally in her interview. And then suddenly it was like, you said you're medical. Like, and like that wouldn't have happened if she hadn't bought her CV. I really loved her character. Like, I know she kind of grows as a character and gets more confident, but I don't think she was ever unconfident. I don't think she was never portrayed as shy or nervous or anything. She was very like sure of herself, but I think she just got more confident in that field and like of her own abilities and everything. So I think that was really cool. But yeah, so all of a sudden it's like, you've got to do this, and she's so desperate for the money, she tries. And I love that even once she's done it, she's like, you need to get him checked by an actual doctor, like make sure there's not an infection. Like, she's still trying to make sure they actually get care, which I just thought was so kind of funny. And like, yeah, she didn't want her work to be dissed because someone got an infection because they didn't get checked up.
Yeah, it's true. She sort of was still worried about that. Even when she came home and was like, she had like a baseball bat sitting on the sofa, like someone is fucking coming for me.
Yeah. Which then begs the question, like, when I'm going to keep calling her Betty Boop. I know she was Beatrice, but Betty Boop. When she rang the buzzer and then Mary was like, oh yeah, coming up, she just left the front door open.
Yeah.
12 hours ago, you were shaking on the sofa with a baseball bat. What do you mean you're just leaving the front door open? Like,
I think she was quite overwhelmed with Beatrice. Like,
but like, she
just
didn't know, just Beatrice. But like, the fact she just came in and I was like, you didn't think to, just not open the front door completely wide? Like, Beatrice was fucking hilarious though. Like, very
I did
pushy
love
front.
her.
She's great, but she would be a nightmare in real life.
She would be, yeah. Yeah, sort of quite loyal as well, though. She was sort of sweet at the end, and yeah, but like, yeah, it was a strange relationship they had because it was sort of like they bonded kind of like instantly over stuff, but like they were also just completely different people. It was weird.
I think that was it. Is like, yeah, they respected each other's differences. They respect, like, and it was that, and it was, yeah. And I think that was it. Like, she gave Mary that whole opportunity to like start something for herself. Like, it didn't
Yeah.
have to be body mod, but she could help. And I think that was the thing. Mary was quite, like, she was quite unjudgmental. Like, she didn't quite get
Yeah.
it, but she didn't judge people for doing it. So
Mm.
she was like, sure, I'll make you look like Barbie if that's what you genuinely want. Like, she checked.
She really wants this? Oh, yes. She's dedicated her whole life to this.
And she was like, if that's what you really, really want, I will do it. Like, she didn't judge, but she did want to make sure. And I thought that must be really rare to find that kind of balance.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I mean, because obviously what this woman was asking was like removing the nipples, sewing up the labia, like that. Oh God, that scene when she was doing it and then you saw the things fall on the floor, the skin.
She's like, yeah, this just, yeah.
Yeah, that made me cross my legs a bit.
The fun thing is that you can get your nipples removed. So that made me laugh because, again, like, this was 2012, but now that is, I wouldn't say a common operation, but it's not like, I think you'd find it a lot easier to get. Sewing up your vagina, I love as well that it was like as much as you can, because obviously you still will be able to pee. But like that one I think would be a lot harder to get someone to do.
Yeah.
I don't think they train for that.
No, I don't think they do. And oh, God, it's just like I'm surprised she said yes to doing it. But like as you say, she was very respectful and was very much like, if this is what you're happy with, then we can do it. And I think that kind of adds to the shockingness of the film as well. Like that, she is willing to sort of do anything to sort of get this experience. And just kind of like, I don't know. It sort of adds to it because a lot of it is shocking and like all the sort of gore in it, none of it's CGI, like it's all practical effects, which so good. It's so good. So like I think that like her asking for something like that also like helps the horror element in the film as well.
Yeah, but I liked the way they do it, like, because again,
Yeah.
even like the way they filmed it was very respectful. Like, you never saw the boobs. Oh no, sorry, you did, but you only saw them in the sense of how you would on like a medical show. Like, you didn't see them until they were already covered, and it was just the nipple. Like, they did it very tastefully, and it wasn't just like nudity for the sake of. I know there was a bit in the strip club, but again, the environment, like, I think it was done very nicely. And then like you didn't see anything with the vagina, and then even when you did see the results, it was like in a photo on a computer screen. So again, it wasn't like, oh, you can gawp at this image. And that may have been done because of the effects, and it was easier to like show it probably from a distance, as it were. But I still think it actually kind of added to it to be like,
that's very true.
It wasn't, because that was the whole point. She didn't want a vagina so that she wasn't sexualized.
Yeah, that's so true. I think, yeah. And also, I suppose it's done very tastefully, and that's kind of what you get when a film's directed by two women.
Hell yeah. Also, revenge on the male rapists.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we can talk about all the fun body modification stuff, but we do have to, obviously,
Well, he was body modified, just not willingly.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. So how did you find that scene? I mean, it's a pretty graphic scene, isn't it?
The rape scene. I didn't know if you meant that or when she got him up. That is
both.
both. It is insanely graphic. I think it's so horrible because obviously you see like her in the hospital, you see her working her ass off. And I think again, far too many girls know this scenario where you think your work is shining through and actually some fucking scumbag just wants to take advantage and give you a leg up and go fuck yourself. And yeah, I think it feels far too real. And there was something as she was like being taken to the bedroom and she could like barely walk, there was something happening to a lady on the counter. Did you see?
I did see that, yeah.
But
There
I
were
didn't know
lots
what
of...
it was. Like I didn't know. Yeah.
I think like she, like lady was kind of there for the same reasons because there wasn't that many women there. So I feel like the ones that were invited were there for like those particular reasons. So I imagine the same thing was probably happening to... But yeah, you're right. Like we didn't really see it, so we didn't really know. But you can sort of assume that it's something.
I wasn't sure if it was more. I don't know. I don't think it was okay, regardless. But it was, yeah, it was just.
You didn't know if it was something more consensual.
Yeah, it was again because it was like it could have been knowing, like looking at the type of people at the party, they could have hired some sex workers, so it could have been there was consensual. It could have been, it could have been a little bit like it almost looks like they were just looking, but again, it wasn't clear if she was drugged up and they were looking, or if she was being paid to be there, because it was like one girl and three guys, like it wasn't clear.
Yeah,
we can just assume it was a disgusting fucking place. And again, like, yeah, that actual scene where it's just like the way they've done it with her head kind of flop it, and you can see she's just not in control, and she acts it so well where she's just like vacant. And it's fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the worst I've seen because of how much you see. Like a lot of rape scenes are kind of more hidden, as it were. And they literally like really show you her face and you can see all her emotion. It's horrible.
I think as well, to your point as well, like I do find in some rape scenes, like they don't show the rapist the next day. Like they saw her waking up with him.
Yes.
Like, and that's not normally the case. It's certainly in horror rape scenes. Normally it happens and then it's like another scene where she's on her own. But this particular one was like she woke up with him and like had to get the fuck out of that flat, and that kind of like, as to your point, like made it more real and more like scary and just horrendous. And the fact that she had to like get the fuck out of there up like the next morning because obviously like she was so drugged up.
No, it's really nice. And it's even the point that when I've forgotten the guy's name, but her new club friend, what's his name? I really liked his character actually.
Let's find it.
Billy. So obviously then when Billy goes and gets him and his guys bring him back, and she's like, you thought I went into prostitution? Like that was the thing you could see from the doctor's mentality. Like her teachers were like, oh, well, if she's selling herself, then it's obviously okay. And it's like they'd managed to justify it to themselves.
Yeah.
And that's fucking all sorts of horrible.
Yeah. Well, that's what I guess rapists do, is they just try and find a way to make it okay.
Yeah, the amount you sent me the article of Giselle Pellicott where like every man that was convicted of raping her went on trial, and the amount of them coming out with excuses and claiming I'm not a rapist because her husband consented, because I thought she was playing along. I'm not a rapist. And it's fucking disgusting. And that's, again, you can see in this, it's like, oh, well, I'm not a rapist because she was a sex worker. But the fucking mental gymnastics they have to do to make themselves think they're okay.
I know.
Fucking disgusting. Sorry.
I
feel like I've just turned into this, me ranting to you about everything you already know.
No, well, I mean, anyone out there that hasn't read up on the Giselle Pellicott case, like, I urge you to. It's extremely important that anyone should know about it. To just put a side note in there, everyone should be aware of this case and everyone should be aware of her. Because she's just the most incredible woman ever. And it's just an absolutely horrendous case. But completely like you say, Tel, like they always find a way to justify it somehow. And those justifications that some of those men had for Giselle's case was just insane. Absolutely insane. So
They must hear themselves and be like, this is bullshit. Like,
Mm.
like, how do they ever think someone's going to believe that?
yeah, I know. It's gross. But anyway,
I'm exhausted with this world.
yeah. Yeah.
But the revenge is quite satisfying. And like when people are like, oh, fuck it, she can get revenge.
Well, yeah, this is the difficulty with her character, isn't it? Because you are on her side, and like you said earlier, she is quite likable, and you are kind of rooting for her for a lot of it. But then there's sort of like parts of it where, like, for example, when she like kills the security guard for kind of like next to no reason. I know he caught her, so obviously she had to kill him, but like that's kind of where the sort of villain era sort of comes in. With me, because throughout it, like, obviously it's, you know, what she's doing isn't correct, isn't right, but like you kind of think like, oh, what's happened to her? You sort of like, you know, go along with it in the end, like watching it. But then when she does that, you sort of think, okay, like,
Yeah.
and like she was about to kill the police officer and things like that, like you think maybe at some point she has a handle on it, and then she doesn't.
And I think this is a lot to do with it, isn't it? She's found herself in this world that she thinks she understands. But like there's a lot more to it. Actually, to be fair, it wasn't the body modification world until the very end. That was the problem. It was the police investigating, and they were actually investigating a disappearance, which is perfectly valid and perfectly within their job. And then they obviously uncovered a bunch of shit and were like, yeah, this guy was not okay. Which just makes you go, great, she's punishing. I really don't care that she's punishing him now. But as you say, the security guard and him, and you're like, well, shit, they're innocent bystanders.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I do love when she's just the way she goes through it, and she's like, oh, well, these are the most common ones, so these are what I'm going to do to you.
Of the most popular procedures that we are going to try on you tonight. So, we have tongue splitting. I know. Implants, sometimes referred to as 3D implants. Teeth filing. Genital modification. And voluntary amputation. So, I think we should get started.
And like really makes him freak out. But surely though, I do love as well though that when the police officer's in the flat apartment, like all he had to do was pick up the book because he was in the photos, and she like took photos of his face. I'm like,
I know, that's all he had to do.
Really obvious that you have him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Could have been a much bigger case.
Oh. Yeah, but it was like, you're right, when she talks to him before she does all the stuff to him, like telling him what, like, oh, that is terrifying. Like knowing what's about to happen to you.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think that's why I love it, because as she was being taken to the room, she knew what was going to happen. Or maybe she didn't. Maybe at that point she still like trusted him because he was a mentor.
That's very true.
But I think that's the scary thing, is a lot of people who've been raped, like it is that moment where you're suddenly like, you know what's coming. Like
there's no
and
getting out of this.
And he didn't fucking care.
No.
He didn't stop when he realized she was scared. Like, so I think I'm gonna say when she was walking at you, because she would have realized she was drugged. And that's suspicious as fuck.
Yeah, I think she would have known. So yeah, no, you're right. It is fitting. She's just doing what, you know, he did to her, kind of thing. How did you feel when you saw Dr. Grant after being modified? When you saw him for the first time, was it quite shocking?
From a CGI, not CGI, sorry, from SFX perspective, fucking amazing. I was surprised how much she'd done. Like, because, and again, that's not stupid, but like when she was talking through it and she was like splitting the lip, and you have the implants, and like, what was it, voluntary amputation? I think the word voluntary is wrong, but it was like requested. I can't remember the exact word. So I was expecting like a leg to be missing or an arm. I didn't expect him to suddenly be quadruple amputee.
Yeah,
I can't do the words today. Sorry.
Yeah, I felt like it would be more of a slower process where she
Right.
would like remove an arm one day, move a leg another, but
Mm.
but obviously this had been going on for months at this point when we eventually
True.
did see him. So probably off screen it was going on for a while, but like yeah, first seeing him I was like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I thought it was because they did cut, and I might get this slightly wrong, but I think they cut between like, oh, she's going to be doing these tests, and then we saw someone with like a split tongue. That's fucking cool, where she could like hold the stick. But anyway, so I thought it was going to be like, as a customer came to him with a request, she'd go practice and then be like,
Yeah.
oh, we'll do the consultancy, come back next week. So I was very surprised how quick it was done.
Mm,
Because I was like, well, you can't practice again now because it's already gone. However, she needed a portfolio.
mm.
So yeah. It's really hard to feel sorry, but I don't feel any fucking sorry for him.
No,
That's what they
he's
should do to rapists. Get them in jail, fucking hang them up. Like, no sympathy.
no. So there is an appearance from the Soska sisters themselves who want this demon thing. They want to kind of just be conjoined. Am I right in saying that? Yeah, they kind of
No. So it's not conjoined because they don't want to be connected, as it were, but they want to be part of each other, but also more themselves. So that was that demon picture was really cool, to be fair. Demon. But yeah, so that's what they kind of like felt like is why she went with like the not antlers, not fucking deer. Devil
horns.
But because that was the thing when they come in and like she's stroking her sister's arm, it is I was like, they've pushed that a little bit. But when they're like, we want to swap left arms, I was like, oh, she's seeing it as her own already. So she's literally there like my arm, like she'd already associated. So I was like, okay, I'm on board with that. But yeah, like that's why I put them on the cover art for our podcast this week.
Absolutely.
Like, gotta get them in there.
Oh, so I thought they wanted to be connected. I obviously wasn't looking at it properly.
I think it was like spiritually connected. They weren't because they had their left arms swapped. They didn't get sewn together.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think it was more like a spiritual connection because that was it. They said if one died, they wanted to still be connected.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I thought that was quite cool. I thought it was interesting because again, when you're talking about like the body modification community, I think there was like they did sort of reference it where it was like, oh, like how extreme do you go? Like there's different people that do different things. And then there's the guy asking for piercings. Who the fuck do you think I am? So I thought that was a really interesting take to be like actually swapping parts was something I'd never heard of. I'm not really in the body mod community, but I knew of a few of them, like that corset thing they had where we grew up. We saw several people with that. I saw people with like the devil horn implants. Like it was quite a thing in our area.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did remember the thing at the back when they had that. And then a lot of the footage, there was just a lot of real life people from the body mod community as well, which I thought was really cool. It's like actually combining like people that actually do this into a film. Like it shows that they've kind of done a bit more of their research and these people want to be a part of this film.
Well, exactly. And I think again they did it respectfully. It wasn't mocking, it wasn't pointing and laughing, it wasn't shaming or anything like that. It was actually just exploring what this means, what it involves, everything. And again, they were never the bad guys.
No.
Like anything negative that happened wasn't one was because of a body modification, but again, it wasn't their fault and it wasn't Mary's I would say it wasn't Mary's fault. I would say it was one man who couldn't handle his emotions. To put it politely.
Yeah, I think like obviously it's difficult because he's a rapist, but like she obviously is in that villain era where she kind of like doesn't want to be caught out now.
Yeah.
And she is kind of, it does get a bit tetchy towards the end where it's like, okay, she's going to be found out soon. Like things aren't going massively to plan. And like I said, like with the police officer and the security guard and stuff, like things are they're becoming a bit more messy. It's not just getting revenge on your rapist. There's like kind of more going on now. Like, so that's the only difficulty with it, is that like at the end you kind of think, oh fuck, she's a bit screwed here.
Well, this was it. I kind of expected the ending to be her getting caught. I didn't expect, sorry, what I meant earlier when I was like, oh, you know, because it wasn't the body modification community that actually hurt Mary at the end. It was the husband. He was the one who I meant couldn't control his feelings. Because what I didn't understand was they were like, oh, she has loads of boyfriends, that's her husband. So I was like, well, he's okay with her being with other men. But as soon as he can't use her for sex, like, and that was the thing, she didn't want to be seen as a sex symbol, as a sex object, and he lost his fucking mind and went on a killing rampage. Maybe a rampage is too harsh. He beat the shit out of Betty and then he killed Mary. But, and I was, so it wasn't, it wasn't that community, which is why I think, again, probably there were a lot of people willing to be in the film, because they weren't like, oh, look at these people, which they probably get all the time.
Yeah, no, there was no shame on body mod at all. It was all the fucking monsters around it, around that community. Like some guy who only gets angry when he can't get fucking laid. That's when he goes and kills a woman. Like, not, you know, oh, she can have other boyfriends as long as I can have sex with her. I don't give a shit.
That's what I didn't get. I was like, if she's got other boyfriends, like, do you have, I don't know. Like, I was like, fucking communicate. Like, there's got to be communication in this relationship, unless they were all secret boyfriends. But like, the way it was kind of said didn't imply that it was.
No, it sort of seemed like it was an agreement. But like the moment that she can no longer have sex with you is where he draws the line.
Like, it was so...
So no, you're right. Like, the body mod community had nothing to do with the villain story. That was what was kind of around it. So that's what makes it kind of interesting, really.
No, it is. But I actually love Billy as a character.
Yeah, I did. I think, like, well, what did you think of his like scene? So because I was on you know, his vision of Mary.
When he's picturing Mary.
There was one review I read which was like, I could watch Catherine Isabel pour blood on herself for hours. I mean, she looked amazing. And like, it kind of reminded me of the scene in Hostel 2 where the ladies in the bathtub. And like, you sort of do think like, you're a female in a horror world. You do kind of think, blood photo shoot.
Like, you're kind of like, I'm not like, I'd pour blood on me, fuck it.
I think like, because again, it was directed by two women, I feel like I would like to hope that Catherine Isabel felt, you know, in a safe place to be able to kind of, she looked amazing, you know. I feel like it would kind of really showed off just her like beauty as a woman, and I think in a horror film that's always really nice to see as well.
But I was kind of curious, like, why Billy was picturing the blood. Was it because he saw like a dark side to her? Is it because he thought she was going to murder him? Like, I don't know.
Well, I guess because when they kidnapped the doctor, she was like, well, let me have him. He obviously didn't really ever know what was going on between those two in terms of what she was doing to him.
Until he found the video.
Yeah, so maybe at this point he was kind of like, you know, I wonder what she's doing. What did she need him for? Like, he doesn't really know a lot about her other than his
blood. Just to...
he doesn't really know a lot about her other than like, she said, I want this guy.
Yeah.
And you would obviously think like, if Billy was me, I'd be like, what the fuck is she doing with this guy? Like, where's she taking him?
Well, it was the fact that they offered to come like pick up, because I think he knew she was going to kill him, or thought, and then he was like, we'll come pick him up in a bit, like the corpse. And obviously she was like, oh, you won't need to. So as you say, it was like he probably thought she had like him just in the basement.
Yeah, I think he must have just been like, who is this girl who I'm really into, but who is she?
I think that was it. And again, he was essentially a pimp, but like being every girl who worked for him, like there was the scene where she was giving him a blowjob because I don't even know if he would like ask for it or just make them. Again, that was the only bit I was like, is he making like the sex workers do that? or
Mm.
like I was like, that's the only bit where I'm like, what the fuck, Billy? Like, I thought you were a good guy. Why
Yeah.
being shit to the women around you? Because then Mary went to kill her.
Yeah, I didn't
And
love
I
that
was
bit either.
I didn't love that because I was like, if you two like each other, fucking talk.
Mm.
Like, you've got so many dark secrets. You can't admit you got feelings. Fucking grow a pair, you two, or sew some on from the other guy.
Well, that's
Like-
what it's like though. Like with Mary, she does obviously she's like has sociopathic tendencies. Like the fact at the beginning when the doctor was like, go and tell, this family, that the husband has died, the dad has died.
How did that go, Miss Mason?
They were upset.
Understandably so. I want you to go back there and tell them that he died.
And she kind of just did it. She just faced on and did it. And she did kind of have sort of sociopathic tendencies at the beginning. So I think that is fitting. Like she was sort of able to do something so dark like that, but she wouldn't be able to address her real feelings for Billy.
No,
So
yeah, it does make sense. And again, like I think after what had happened to her with the other guy, the other doctor whose name's just gone from me, that would have been harder to like suddenly trust someone.
yeah.
So I do see that. But again, like he wasn't handling it well. And then when he found the video and he was really protective of her. And it was at the end where it was like, should we just leave? And like they had a plan to get away.
Mm.
And I think at that point, it's too good to be true.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Both of them wanted it. Both of them weren't willing to just outright say it, but like they were going to ride off into the sunset together and be happy.
It was never going to happen, but it was a nice dream. But I didn't love when she was like beating up that girl because it sort of didn't really sort of fit into the rest of the film.
No,
I don't
what did
know.
she say to her? Like, wrong cock, wrong time. And it was like, but you're not together.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't even told each other you like each other. No one else is supposed to be privy to this. Billy's probably fucking asked for the blowjob because he's like a lawyer and a piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was no way she.
Yeah.
There was no way she was like, "Oh, can I please?"
Just came in like, please. I want the better shift. Like, oh.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I didn't love that bit, to be honest. It sort of felt like, yeah, but then I guess it did show that she was kind of slowly falling apart at that point. Like things were getting a bit messy.
No, she was starting to fall apart, and I think that was it. Was I think her options at that point were pack up and leave, and try again, or like literally just kind of shut everything down. Or I don't know. I say her options and then I didn't give her another option.
No, it was it's difficult.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you weren't so keen on the ending. Is it that the fact that she died that you were just like,
I think I was really gutted that she died. I was really gutted because she sewed herself back together and still died. I think I was just really gutted. I think I was really surprised that this husband came out of nowhere and came after her. And I think I was annoyed because she basically died because of men's pettiness. Like, again, this whole film is communication. It's like her and Billy need to have a fucking conversation and decide that they like each other and drive into the sunset. The Barbie girl, I've forgotten her actual name, but like the Barbie doll and her husband need to fucking communicate. If that's what she wants, it's her fucking body, like her choice. And I know he's not going to get laid, but that's when you communicate. Either you divorce, if that's not you, like if your wife is no longer who you want them to be, like if you are now different people and you've grown apart, fucking communicate. Is it that hard? I'd be a great therapist. Just talk to each other.
It is that hard.
Sometimes it's like, do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, just need a chat. And it is hard. Talking is hard. Get a podcast. It's weirdly easier into a microphone. So
I think their issues are a bit
there's some big issues, but like the fact that he just came home, saw his wife like that, and went, this is different, I don't like it, and then flew off the handle and went on a murder rampage. And I'm going to keep calling it a rampage even if there's only one person. But he beat the shit out of Betty as well.
Yeah, he did. Again,
like, fucking control your emotions and sleep on it. I know you're not happy, but murder, you're definitely, well, you might get laid in prison, but it won't be your wife.
No.
Like, and now he's dead. So I'm like, cool, your emotions did a great job. And again, for me, that was just it. I was like, I feel like there could have been a lot different resolution, and she died. I was glad she died, and because of one person being petty.
Yeah, like maybe the reason that she died, you know, or
Yeah.
the fact that he killed her was kind of
Yeah.
a shame, really. That like it ended that way for her. Just some like random dude that's been in this film for like 5 minutes
Yeah,
killed her.
I don't think it would have worked with a happy ending. Like I know we keep saying we wanted her to drive off with Billy, and then the police to just find the hanging body of Dr.
Yeah, it just wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have fit the rest of the vibe of the film, the rest of the tone.
No.
So that wasn't going to happen. However, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's kind of right, if you can use that word, that she died. I think, as you say, it was fitting with the film. I just think if she died in a different way, like
Yeah.
you say, like the fact that she kind of died by the hands of someone that was in this film for a bit, and just some angry guy, I guess that's pretty fucking realistic, isn't it? But
actually, yeah, it's really fucking.
ugh.
I can't think of the words tonight.
We're angry. Yeah, we're
weekend
angry.
of drinking, and I'm angry, and I can't think of the words.
Yep.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Is it literally is realistic, and that's just what feels unfair. Like the perfect ending would have been actually her in the backseat of Billy's car stitching herself up because she rang him to get help. He drove her away, and then they found the fucking everything in her flat, and the guy was dead on the floor.
Yeah, and then maybe like she dies at the back of the car, or
Like,
she, you know, you don't know her fate
know
or
if
something.
she would have died. But again, that's a movie, and this actually was very symbolic of real life.
Yeah,
painfully so at times. I think that's why it upsets me, actually, is because it does feel very close to real life, a lot of these scenes.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And I think with everything that's going on at the moment, I mean, violence against women happens everywhere all the time, but I think at the moment particularly, it feels to me that there's like
It feels like the world hates women.
It really does, like what much worse than I think it's been in a long, long time. And I think we're all feeling that at the moment. And I'm sorry to like kind of lower the tone, but this is kind of how we feel at the moment. And I think, you know, we can voice it however we want to voice it. But yeah, so you're right. I think that it has dealt with a lot of real life issues, this film. So it does bring out angry telling Katie.
I really thought this was going to be a nice. I was like, oh, this is just going to be a really quick, funny episode. And instead, we're like, we are fucking pissed. And I think we have every right to be, but it's just not what I was expecting when we were like, let's do American Mary. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, girl power.
And now we're ready to burn shit down.
Yeah. Well, it would be weird if we weren't angry, Tao. It would be weird if we weren't angry. And I'm sure every single woman that's listening to this podcast is also angry. So
I also think as well, I'd love to recommend this film actually to more people, because I think if they're watching it with that perspective, like, because yes, there's like body gore in this film, but I don't think it's too heavy of a horror. Like, I might actually recommend this to my sister and be like, look, it's not a scary horror. Like, no, there's a lot of like real topics which are fucking terrifying and anger inducing. So if you just want a good scream, watch this. If you feel like you've had enough, don't watch this. I get that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, no, you're right. I think what you said earlier was bang on. Like the gore and the SFX is done amazingly well, and also very like tastefully. I think the only thing that maybe like there would be a bit of a shock would be seeing the doctor, because you kind of just see him and you're not really given any warning. It's just kind of there. So I think that is one of the most like shocking things in the film, is seeing him. And that's kind of somehow even worse. Like, seeing it, you'd kind of think like, oh, well, this is just like torture porn. This is like Audition. You know, Audition is an incredible film, but it's like Audition, Saw, Hostel. You're watching it happen. But the fact that you've seen the aftermath of it is kind of almost scarier. So that's the only thing I'd say to like who we'd recommend it to. I don't know if your sister would be like, what the fuck?
She would be like, what the fuck have you recommended? But I'd be like, yeah, but now listen to me and Katie get angry and you'll see why.
Well, that's angry. I mean, she's like super, you know, she has a podcast of her own that you know talks about these issues, so it might be a really interesting one to recommend to her.
We should have teamed up.
We should have done. That's so annoying.
Damn. Oh well, right. In the future. Is there anything else you wanted to add to this before we see if we would survive?
I don't think so. I'm angry enough. I'm all
I'm
good.
so angry. um, so do we think we would survive American Mary?
I would, because I'm not a rapist.
Yay! Win for the non-rapists. It's a scary world, isn't it?
And I feel like if I wanted any body modification done and I had the money, then Mary would just do it for me and I would feel very safe in her hands.
Should we swap left arms?
That's what I've got you for your birthday.
Oh, amazing!
That's brilliant. You're really fucking strong. I can have one, you can have one of my weak arms.
We just both have one strong arm and one not so strong arm. That'll be my
Oh.
cider drinking arm. It's fine.
Not so strong. She's so sweet. She means a little puny arm.
Yeah, but you're strong in other ways. I've seen you glare fuckers down. I'll be the muscle. This is that you can word it. I fluster. I'll be the muscle. You be the brains. We got this.
Perfect. What about you?
Yes, I think I'll survive because, as we said, like, I'm not a rapist.
Yeah,
And,
you're not. You don't
my-
sexually assault people.
I don't
So.
sexually assault people, and if my partner decides to get body modification, I will talk to him about it rather than going to kill the person who did it.
Excellent.
I'm the cunt. So rating this out of 5. No, what are your spookies out of 5, and what's your favorite spooky moment?
Favorite spooky moment. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about when she sews the Barbie girl shut, because that did make me shudder a little bit when you did see the things falling off the bed. So I think I am going to stick with that, because that did make me close my legs quite significantly. So yeah, and I think, I mean, to be fair, after talking about it, I think I am actually going to give it higher. I was going to give it 2.5, but I think 3 is pretty. I think it would sit pretty comfortably there. I definitely watch it again. And after speaking with you about it, I feel like it definitely does address quite a lot of issues, and it's quite a great film in that way, for addressing those kind of issues. So also, I really like Catherine Isabel in it. I think she's great. And I think from what you see I think the special effects are absolutely brilliant. And I think the acting's pretty decent for the most part. So 3 for me. What about you?
I think my favorite spooky moment, I'm going to go with when he's a quadruple amputee, because again, I think it was just so shocking to see. But again, I think it's every girl's dream that you could do that to your rapist.
Yes. Yes, that's very true.
There's a new business plan for us. We would get arrested in 5 minutes. We have no ability to stay quiet. But yeah, I think that was just really shocking. And as you say, I think we were expecting, like, even when she listed it out, I don't think we were expecting her to go that big. But after talking about it, I think I'm actually kind of, more for it. I think similar to you, actually, I think my score has gone up because of the SFX, because of the fact they didn't use any CGI. Because of the fact that people in the body mod community wanted to be in the film and wanted to acknowledge it and were treated respectfully. I think that's huge. So I am going to shout out as well the directors, Jen Soska and Sylvia Soska, also because they were in it, and I think that's fucking badass. I also saw somewhere that their parents remortgaged their house to help fund the film, and they're also in it, but I don't know who they are. And I'm really gutted that I don't know which characters they play, if they were just like in the background, if they were just in the strip club.
That's amazing.
I also I completely forgot to mention him. Who's the big bouncer?
There was one that, I don't know if he was the bouncer, but he worked at the club, I think, and spoke to Mary about, like, you know, don't have any regrets about who you kill. You know, and he was telling that story about his mum.
Yeah, I can't find his name, the character's name, but he was great.
Cool.
He was just sat there like, I got your milkshake. You did look like a vanilla girl. And I was like, he's great. Like, he will, as you say, like, don't have regrets who you kill. Like, because
he's great.
He's fucking great. No, but I think because he's looking at it from a real perspective of, if you hadn't killed him, he could have killed you. Like, he's looking at it from like a survival.
Yes.
He's seen some shit, like, working in that club, and I just think he was there to protect the people that he loved.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got to rant about this random man. This guy who had like one scene.
No. I will interrupt you and give you another fact, is that this was shown at Fright Fest in 2012 in London. So
Amazing.
how amazing would that have been if we were there and we saw it then? But how cool is that like this film stemmed from Fright Fest and like, yeah. And people, it seems like people in the horror community fucking love this film. So,
and again, well, I was just looking because it's rated around like 6 and stuff. I've lost it immediately. It was rated around like 6 on IMDb, 61% on Rotten Tomatoes. So again, I wonder if it's the horror community keeping it up, and other people are like, "What the fuck?" and bringing it down.
It's always the case, Tel.
I tell you what, as soon as they saw, oh, it's a female lead and 2 female directors, that was it. It came down because people hate women. Even when we make amazing movies, I say we as if I had any part of this. Even when they make amazing movies, but yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think because of the SFX side, like that's obviously huge for me. But yes, so amazing. I haven't said that in a while. That was our American Mary episode. I would say sorry about the rant, but you know what? You signed up for it. You know what we're like by now, and we fucking need it, as do half the fucking world at this rate. So if the world is getting too heavy for you, come and listen to us, because we will just rant and hopefully make you laugh, because we do know times are fucking heavy and it's fucking tough. So look after yourselves, look after your friends, and lots of love.
Mwah.
Mwah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Don't die.
Don't die.